Today we're going to be talking about what your ex is thinking after a breakup with you. Now, without a doubt, the number one question I get around this isn't so much like, tell me the exact thoughts my ex is thinking about me. The queries I get are more in line with, is my ex thinking about me at all? And the answer to that question is yes, and science proves it. Yeshiva University neuroscientist Lucy Brown decided that she was going to test and scan people's brains when they were going through a breakup. She was trying to understand what parts of the brain light up and sort of the mechanisms that accompany heartbreak. What she found wasn't necessarily a game changer for me, but it might be a game changer for you. She found that the brains of heartbroken people often looked a lot like drug addicts fiending for a fix. So, quite literally, even if your ex is the one to break up with you, or you are the one to break up with your ex, the parts of your brain that literally light up are the same parts that get triggered when someone who is a drug addict begins looking for a fix. So, to answer the question, ultimately, yes, your ex is absolutely thinking about you, but that does not necessarily mean that that can override their stubborn need to make you think they aren't thinking about you. So I was thinking of the best way to tackle this subject. Oftentimes when people ask me, like, Chris, tell me the exact things my ex is thinking about after the breakup with me. Oftentimes people think that I have all the answers when in reality I don't. I'm just a guy who sifts through research every single morning to try to put these videos together. But I'm not going to let you down here. So here's what I did. I started thinking about this in a very logical manner. All right, so when someone experiences a breakup, I've noticed that usually there's this huge misconception that people think that the only ones who grieve a breakup are the ones who've gotten broken up with, but that's not true. The people who actually also initiate the breakup will grieve just as well. So if you're going to ask me what your ex is thinking after a breakup, I would actually like to point you to 5 phases of thought that they're going to have after the breakup. And these 5 phases of thought are directly influenced by the 5 stages of grief. You know, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Well, the 5 phases, or the 5 phases of thoughts that I'm about to unveil to you, are directly related to that. And also, we've seen it a lot in our coaching practice. Phase number 1, I'm better off without them. This is, of course, directly related to the denial phase. So, your ex does not want to be wrong. This is oftentimes where the core need of winning the breakup comes from. Your ex, being the one who initiated the breakup with you, most likely does not want to be wrong. Oftentimes, what is a breakup if not an admission from your ex that they think they can do better than you? So they need to convince themselves that they made the right decision. And usually they believe this with 100% of thought. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes they can find a better match than you. But it's not going to happen right away. And of course, there's a lot more of the roller coaster of emotions that they need to experience before they sort of let go. Phase number 2, the pendulum swing of emotions. This one's directly related to anger. So I have noted a lot of times ex's hot and cold behavior. One minute they seem really into you, the next minute they want nothing to do with you. I often call this the pendulum swing of emotions, and oftentimes this is exhibited by anger. And it's anger from both ways. Sometimes when they're really hot, they're really kind of flirting with you and things seem to be going well and it seems like, wow, we're going to get back together. They get angry about the fact that they are proving themselves wrong. They kind of go back to that denial stage that we just had before and they start thinking, I'm angry about the fact that maybe I'm not better off without them. And so they get really cold. Oftentimes also anger can be a trigger for avoidant behavior. They get angry by the fact that they promised themselves that they were not going to engage with you. So when they're getting hot with you and all of a sudden they get cold, it's often driven by anger. And then sometimes they get angry at you because you were the one that made them break up with you. Paradoxical behavior, but it exists. And of course, it does not need any explanation. If you were the one to break up with your ex, obviously they're going to be angry and blaming you for that. Hey there, real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance,
probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our X Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video.
Phase number 3, the let's be friends phase. This one is directly influenced by bargaining. All right, so we've all been there. We've all been through a breakup. We've all had that ex that says, well, why can't we just be friends? So after denying the fact that they maybe still have feelings for you immediately after the breakup, through basically saying, I'm better off without them, then through going the hot and cold phase, the pendulum swing of emotions, they start to think, well, why can't we just be friends? That will just be easier. I'm tired of this anger in my life. I'm tired of the friction and the drama in my life. Maybe harmony is what is required here, and let's be friends to do that. Of course, when you implement the no contact rule, you remove them of this ability, and then of course, things get really fun. They start to get really angry about the fact that they can no longer talk to you because guess what? You're using a no contact rule on them. You can't be friends if you can't talk to someone. Real mature. Fun. Phase number 4, the I need a distraction phase. This one is actually highly motivated by depression. So distractions can come in many different shapes and forms. Now, one thing I've maybe neglected to talk about so far is each ex has a unique experience with the stages, and they don't necessarily have to have these stages in order. Sometimes they can skip complete stages. Sometimes they will only have one stage. Sometimes they will have all the stages, but out of order. Sometimes you'll have all the stages in order. But what is usually always going to happen is they will try to distract themselves from how they are feeling, whether that's throwing themselves into work, whether that's working out like a maniac. But most importantly, and usually how they distract themselves is by going on dates with new people. So oftentimes when your ex begins dating someone new, it's during this phase right here. And then finally, phase number 5, the Fortitude stage. This one directly relates to acceptance. So after they've gone through all of those phases and sometimes skipped phases and sometimes fallen off the wagon and gone back to the very first phase, eventually phase number 5 will occur. They will move past you. Now, the challenge we always have if you're interested in learning how to get your ex back is not trying to get your ex back during this phase, but rather trying to get your ex back during the depression phase where they began distracting themselves, during the hot and cold phase, but usually you want to get them back during that I need a friend type phase. So the reason why we structure our program the way we do is we always implement a no contact immediately after a breakup. The reason is because it's usually going to be during that denial and anger phase. So rather than dealing with them when they're in this angry state of mind, you're letting them sort of calm down and get to that let's be friends phase before you actually begin communicating with them. Now, it does not always work out that way. Even if you follow all of the rules 100% of the time, you can still mess up completely. And what do I mean by that? Well, quite simply, imagine you're in a situation where you go through a breakup. Your ex breaks up with you. You immediately implement a no contact rule. But your ex is not normal. They do go through that denial phase. They do go through that anger phase, but they don't go through the bargaining phase. Instead, they shift back to the denial phase, and by the time your no contact is over, you are engaging them in that denial phase. Sometimes time is the only medicine that can help you get your ex back. I cannot force your ex to respond to you, just like you cannot force your ex to respond to you. How they respond to you is completely up to them. But only thing that you can truly control is you exhibiting more secure behavior. So weirdly enough, you will also go through these phases. You will go through the 5 stages of grief after a breakup. The quicker you can get to that acceptance phase, the quicker you can get to your own fortitude phase, your ex will find that unbelievably different than any other person they've ever dated before. This, of course, is a very good sign. Oftentimes people say like, Chris, it's amazing. I started getting over my ex. I started moving past them. I started outgrowing them, and all of a sudden they came back. This is because subconsciously they're recognizing something is different about you. Usually this only happens when you do get back in contact with them and they can kind of sense the change, but also on rare cases, they can just simply watch it through social media and say, wow, something is different. So that is the 5 phases that your ex is going to go through after a breakup. But how you handle them is up to you. All right, make sure you take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz if you're kind of a newbie and learning how to get your ex back, or you're at least interested in getting your ex back. The number one thing you should always do is figuring out what kind of chance you have of getting them back. And the only way you can do that on our website is by taking our Ex Recovery Chances quiz, our free, simple 2-minute quiz designed to basically tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're interested in taking this quiz, just simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click it. It's that simple. I'll see you next time.